and I'm inspired by Yosef, by his community building and th this kind of audience building. So I think we should be doing this in public. Thank you, Yosef, for leading by example. So the context today is just going to be like kind of like an office hours walking through introductory how to get AI set up on your machine. There's a few different use cases for AI, as you know. There's the chat function. There's AI for work, basically helping you with workflows and to give it access to your tools. And then there's AI for software engineering, which is my specialty and what I'm doing for companies. But it seems like the regular businessman, operator, salesperson, owner, the thing that's going to be most impactful immediately is going to be working on workflows. So I just want to ask you both a question. Are you users more of Claude, Gemini? What do you use the most?
I'm using Claude. I used to use ChatGPT, and then I swapped over about 3 months ago. So I'm using Claude heavily, but still haven't really adapted Claude code and haven't been using it for what it's capable of, just because I haven't invested the time in learning it and asking it and building out things, and I've just been probably using the minimal amount. So I'm curious what
Okay.
Shimmy has to say about that too.
Okay.
Like,
And do you
great
have
learn, great to learn. I would love to. First thing I'd love to do is because I have an assistant, from the Philippines. Um, that kind of scrapes my emails, helps scheduling, does a lot of things. But I feel like, AI can do that same thing and save a lot of time and money. But I'm curious, that would be a really cool thing to learn how to set up a super agent that does all that.
we'll do that today. Exactly that, because it's the request we have. And if you have any other requests, let's hear them. But do you pay to subscribe to either Claude or to Anthropic or to OpenAI?
Yeah, I'm paying like what, 20 a month each
Okay.
platform.
The pro.
But yeah, it's obviously helped my workload tremendously. I'm sure, Michael knows too. Like just basic emailing, used to take me 5, 10 minutes of thinking, writing out an email. Now I just speak into it exactly what I'm thinking. It structures it into professional email. And that alone is compound. If I'm doing, 50 emails a day, that saved me hours every day. And I'm also slow typers. So that's like the bare minimum I know of what you can use ChatGPT for. Also with content creation, copyright, a lot of that stuff, descriptions, posts on LinkedIn, has helped me summarize things. So that's kind of what I've been using it for, and a lot of other little things. But I know there's so much more to be learned. So that's why I wanted a professional like you to kind of teach what we can do. And I'm also curious what Michael would like to learn also, not just about me.
Okay. Shimmy, what about you? What do you use? Are you a pro subscriber to anything? What are your
I'm
preferences?
a pro subscriber to both ChatGPT Plus and Claude Pro.
Okay, Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah. Um, I probably, not probably, I should get rid of ChatGPT. The only thing is, I do have a lot of information that ChatGPT already knows. Um, I wouldn't say more than Claude, but like different information. Um, so what I'm using it for right now is I'm really like just started with this, but I'll ask it like a specific, client persona that I'm looking for. And I integrated it with Zoom Info, and it'll enrich, a bunch of contacts with their info, draft personalized emails based on their websites. So I could just shoot them out of my inbox in Gmail, like without, doing anything, just clicking a button. And haven't seen tremendous success doing that. Um, I would say I send about 50 emails a day. I'm not sure if it's getting like obstructed by spam filters and who knows what. But yeah, that's a little
Okay.
much about that one specific thing. But what else did I want to say? Um, yeah, I forgot. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, so it's like what you're using if you're a pro subscriber and how you use it, anything you would like to figure out how to do. And I mean specifically it seems like you did try to use it for email related functionality, but it wasn't working to the extent that you wanted it to.
I mean, I'm not really getting many responses. So, that could just be it could be so many reasons, it could be people get 50 emails like this a day. They're not really like the language is not engaging. I think it is. I've tried so many different tactics. Um, I don't think it's necessarily going to people's spam, but it's very possible that when Gmail senses that you're sending out that many emails, you know, and they're quite similar, just minus like the specifics of the company I'm dealing with, it might like label it somehow.
All right, cool. I think we can dig in deeper at a later time to your use case specifically. But j just to clarify, this is all referring to cold outreach, or sometimes you've heard at least once from the leads.
No, I mean if it's not cold outreach, people respond. That's
Yeah.
fine. And I
Okay.
use Claude a lot for that. I'll copy paste an entire thread. I mean I was doing that up to last week. Now I understand that it could literally like I've told it, hey, go back into my inbox, my sent folder, look for anyone um, who's reached out to me, inbound, and then I responded but never followed up. And it'll give me, in the past month, past 2 months, past 3 months, up to a year, it'll just show me what threads are open, what needs responses, and literally write the email for me. So I'll quickly glance, see if it makes sense, and then I'll send it out.
Okay. Sounds good. Very cool. Okay, so let's hop into it, Joseph. Joseph and Shimi and Mike. Um, I uh I dug into this specifically with ChatGPT because I assume that this was the common tool. So that's where I'll do the demo. I'm an engineer. I don't get a lot of emails every day. I used to. I used to be a recruiter doing cold calls like Shimmy. But my team is a product manager and a software engineer, and they're both me, so the communication is great. So let me walk through what I discovered on ChatGPT, and it's gonna blow you away almost to the point where you might feel like, how could I have even asked this question? I used it, and for a specific use case, I'm gonna create a new chat, and then share my screen. Where's the new chat?
Mikey, your office is dope.
Oh yeah, it's fake. You got that right.
Yeah.
I can never tell if people know or not. Um, all
Yeah,
right, share
that'd be a
screen.
big empty office. What?
AI generated, right? Okay. You see the screen, you see my GPT window. All good. Closing sidebar. Okay. Um, I receive newsletter emails every day. Uh, categorize today's uh every day to my Gmail. I'm gonna do something quickly just to make sure that this is as if we're doing this for this first time. Okay. Okay. Ignore this. This will make sense later. I received an email to my Gmail. Categorize today's email newsletters by category and summarize each and extract uh, tech consulting opportunities related to my background. Okay. So this prompt has a few useful components. One, I tell it to use Gmail. I just disconnected Gmail, so it's getting like a little context confusion where it still thinks that it's connected. So what happened here when you tell it to talk to Gmail is it will, let me see if I can find the chat. It will literally give a pop-up window that says allow Gmail. Then you go, let's see, it's a, let's see. Okay, yeah.
This only allows one Gmail account at a time.
Yeah, that's kind of an annoying part. That was actually my specific issue with that.
Yeah, because I have a work and personal, and sometimes, I want to get information from both, and I have to like log out, log back in.
Right. Yeah, I've done that. I even had two email accounts interacting with the same groups of people, um, and that was causing some issues. I imagine that this is something that, like, in the next few weeks or months, OpenAI is going to fix. Could be that Claude does it better. Um, but this is just they're building so many app connectors so quickly, and we're really still in the infancy, even though it's kind of reaching this maturity. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Let's see if it's still communicating to Gmail. Looks like that thing stopped loading. Okay, uh, go for it. Also, let's see what the if you'd like. Also, it wants to create a newsletter folder. No, thank you. Okay, sick. All right, so now we've got an email summary, right? It really was that easy. It's already connected to my Gmail. I think you can also do like, what did I see? That might be in Codex, where you do like use whatever. Okay. I mean, where do we even go beyond this? Um, dra draft forwards. I'm just gonna experiment with new things. Uh, of each email to, I mean, what I could do potentially here is to schedule forwarding of relevant information with summaries to people in my CRM as those tools are related for them. So I think, like, there's so many places you can go. Connecting it to apps is incredible. But Yosef, let's dig a little deeper. What more would you like to do?
Hello?
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah. So I was having trouble, basically attaching it, like, making like the super agent. I feel like I'm doing everything manually, and every day I would be like, okay, I would scan my emails and let me know. Like, how do I set up an agent, like kind of like, people say they build out like a company and they have employees that are AI that are actively doing things. So I don't know if I want like AI answering my emails yet because I don't know how to use it well enough. I don't want it messing up or sending out confidential things or whatever. So, but one thing I would want to build, like it is how to actually integrate it to where every day it reads my emails from you know, everything that's sent out of the previous day, summarizes it, and how to actually do it.
Okay, so one thing when people say they have AI employees, this is one, an exaggeration. And if it's not an exaggeration, then two, it's an it's I think a poor implementation of AI. So let me show you. The scheduling is already active in OpenAI. I just scheduled this to happen every day at 10 a.m. where the task that I just gave it, look, it even re-prompts me to turn on notifications so that I can receive this every day. So you can
Right.
do this
How do you integrate it though? How do you integrate it
with
again?
Gmail.
Yeah.
You want
I
to share your screen?
mine?
Yeah, I mean, the quick walkthrough is if you say, read my Gmail emails. And by the way, I would recommend that the first time you're interacting with a tool or guiding GPT to work with a tool, that you keep it as simple as possible. Like, if you needed to respond to 15 emails, don't go in there and say, respond to 15 emails with unique messages, because there's a lot of to-dos it has to break down into steps. First, say, can you summarize my emails from this morning, right? Like, that just requires read access, doesn't require write. In to interact with Gmail, it knows that I'm just missing logging into Gmail, and the only thing I need to do is log in and read and summarize. Versus if you're saying respond to 15 emails, it has to understand that it's missing login, read, summarize, make a reply call, then generate, and then hit a send call, right? So all of these things, every like button that would need to press is like a new action it needs to take. So, like, that's it. Just give it the most simple instructions the first time it's working with it. So if you're saying read my Gmail, like summarize my Gmail emails to give it a simple response, I experiment with it right now on your end. then it would give you like a square to pop up that says allow Gmail. I think I was having an issue. I don't remember if this was a work computer issue that I had or if it was a I think I just waited a few hours and it worked. On my work computer, it just didn't work because it was restricted. But you can also just go to apps and connect it here. Let's go Gmail, and it goes Gmail, and then you can literally start a chat within the Gmail tool. No idea what that does. Um, I got pulled over on my boat last night, so see if you can find the email with my boater's license because I got a little ticket for not having my boater license with me, even though I'm totally licensed. So here it sees that the first search that it did had a crazy amount of spam emails, promotion emails that I noticed. So now it's deciding this is like brilliant that it's saying, let me go back and try a new search that's going to have a higher chance of success. So now I found it August 18th. Great. Okay, it found it. Amazing. Would have saved me 10 minutes last night. The only problem, this is a temporary one before the real one arrived in the mail. Um, no problem there, but it looks like I just didn't have that email. Um, and this is within a Gmail chat. Let's see how this appears in my sidebar. Yep, voters license. These are a fresh chat. Okay, what else should we explore?
I think you could go to hit
Michael, is there anything
hit
you want to do? I don't want to hog the session.
No. Oh, wait, you want to talk? Shimmy want to go?
Shimmy's
Yeah,
Mike.
shimmy.
I'm Mike. I'm Mike.
Okay, you're going by Mike. Okay.
I mean, Mike's my legal name, not just making it up.
No, I know that.
Um,
Cool name.
go,
All right,
go to more a second. No, so it's not more. So I guess it was apps, right? Apps is how you get those API integrations.
yeah. I say yeah because yeah, it's exactly what you mean, but they're not usually not called APIs. In tools that we used to have, like Zapier, I'm not sure you use them, probably maybe not, or N8N, which might become obsolete really quickly after raising $1 billion since they've done this internally. Um, so it might be an MCP, which is called Model Context Protocol, which is just the way an API is an application programming interface, which is how two files of code could talk to another. So this one says that if you make this request, the other one will have a response of this shape. So you could say that find me like, I need the address of this property details request, and that will be in the third position. So things used to need to be really specific. Model context protocols, MCPs, are a specific protocol for models to talk to each other. So that's a quick, but yeah, so here we are. I don't know how I got on that tangent. Zillow. It's sick. You have a scheduled Zillow search that would tell you like, things popping up or
Wait, no
prices.
way. So you could basically prompt, this is something, let's say I want to buy, for example, a fourplex in a certain zip code. I'm looking to pay a certain amount, for that, a certain size, two bedroom, whatever it is, right? The square footage of this duplex or fourplex. And it can check and scrape Zillow for me every single day and give me reports. So I don't have to manually check it every day if I want to buy something.
Not only that, is that you could also probably connect this with Gmail or whatever and send it to a newsletter. Dude, I'm gonna do this right after we get off the call. Maybe not with real estate, but whatever it is, I'm gonna start.
Interesting.
I'm doing and fourplexes
So how
in
okay, go ahead, go ahead. I don't want to ask any questions. I can
in
keep going.
South Miami on market for more than how many days? Let's do 250 days. Email them to, I don't know, self. All right, let's try it out. This might take a second. This is nuts. I'm happy with this exploration. Um, so one of the questions that was asked in last week's section was when do you build and when do you buy? So when do I subscribe to a SaaS When do I contract it out for a custom build? And when do I buy? And I understood this question initially to be that when Facebook wants to build a, a TikTok clone, they decide, do I want to rebuild this feature or do I acquire a startup that already has it? Maybe they have the product, maybe they have the customers. Because to put a product out there, it takes a lot of research. And it looks like a lot of the products that we want to build or buy or use here, like something that this would be an entire startup in and of itself, um, they are available for individuals to use. But if, for example, you wanted a process to be spread around your organization, you can actually make these into group chats that might be at the initial part of the chat, I think. Start a group chat, right? So this would be within this conversation. And then we could, here, let me actually add you both here because to this exploration, then we'll start buying deals together. So I think like for one-off tools, we have an amazing potential to do things individually, but when you want to roll things out to your team and beyond, I think that's when it becomes time to to scale it out. Okay, where's the chat? Okay, join this chat so you can see the results. Anything? This is kind of looks initially came out with zero. Stop thinking. We could look through his thought process. I like to do that. I wonder if it's because I clicked that share that it was interrupted. Adjust to South Florida.
I mean, you probably want to give a specific purchase price number, right? And like a specific zip code because South Florida is pretty, I mean, big, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just kind of practicing here. This is just showing me the search or 876 Southwest. 876 Southwest. Second Miami Street, I think that's what it was. Yeah. There we go. It's a duplex. Not bad, not bad. For 850. Right? And you could even do like, so let's take this to the next level, right? Let's say you had a scheduled run that was doing this across 45 target counties in America, right, Yosef? Like just something really broad, but then you want to do like something comparative. So you know how Google has Google Drive, and when you start a team, often you create a Google Drive with Google Sheets and Google Docs and all these folders. So in projects and within ChatGPT, you can have workspaces like that. And these workspaces can store files. I think currently, secretly, um, ChatGPT is giving me like 30 gigabytes of free storage, which is like Gmail, you know? Then very suddenly, when you need it most, you arrive at that at the limit, and then they start charging you extra. You know what I mean? But it's going to take a while. That's called a moat. So it's fair here storage. Um, Right, they give me 20 gigabytes. So you can store files on ChatGPT, and within that project or that usage, for example, you could have a daily run on a table that contains all the relevant information, is taking into account changing market dynamics, and is watching price movements on those houses. Like maybe you have a theory that's testable with like some machine learning, which is that if a I'm just gonna throw something out there. A property if a property asking price drops by 5% within the first 30 days of listing, you could probably get them for 35% off, which is like a kind of a almost worded as a testable hypothesis. And if that becomes your thesis, if that's how real estate companies make theses, then you could have like a multi-step activity in your workspace. Isn't that crazy?
No, it's pretty wild because the only way you know that, is by checking it all day. Am I really like in real estate when you want to find a good deal, you have to have like a buy box, basically you choose a buy box and what you want to buy. And then, you basically actively check on that, right? So you have like your buy box, and it's like, people say they stay disciplined for like 2 years and like look at whatever you're trying to buy, whether that's a duplex, a fourplex, whatever it is, that market, and you're really looking for buyers, I mean sellers who are, motivated sellers. So if you prompt it to set up, if there's a price drop, or if there's two price drops, and check that for me every day, that can be incredible. It can just notify you instead of spending, an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day on Zillow. It scans it all day for you and lets you know whenever there's a price drop, which shows the motivated seller.
Right. And then it doesn't just update the list in that case, it also keeps track of price movements since you started watching the product or whatever it is you want to set up. So let me give you an example of one of the
So
pitfalls.
can you have ChatGPT create a live Google sheet that tracks all this and then updates it every day?
Yeah,
Would
that's what
that
I'm saying. It could maintain and store tables, whether it does it in a Google Drive folder. So I could literally the same way we did everything else, we could.
so you could literally just say, I want you to create a report every single morning at 9 a.m., giving me a updated list of every property within Miami-Dade that had two price cuts in the past, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and beyond that, right? Like let's see what's in a Zillow listing. I think usually they have the broker's phone number. Um,
They never answer on Zillow.
I don't know if it's like a Zillow setup broker where the broker
No,
pays.
I know
So-
it's it just happens to be whenever I've used Zillow and reached out to the broker that's
so
listed.
I had a guy reach out to me like 3 years ago, and he wanted something that went through county websites and state what do they call state controllers, whatever it's called, to find who the owner of property was. It was like a multi-step, multi-agent system. Like, great, so we're gonna build a product we subscribe. And he's like, no, we're gonna sell it for a really high price to like one company like CBRE so that they have a competitive edge. So I thought that was like a really fascinating offer. I think he had like a cousin on the board of directors or something like that. Um, so like you could take this to another level where, if Zillow's not responding, then you have the address, go visit county websites, which usually don't have any scraping blocking, find out who the owners are, and if the owner isn't an individual or doesn't have a phone number or is an accountant office, then somehow keep digging. And that's something that actually Stephen Bentolila asked me to build for him. But not from county websites. I think he asked from like a specific type of brokerage website. Other websites, what's a popular website for real estate listings? Commercial, what, LoopNet?
No, but that's not to buy. That's usually to
You
rent
can buy.
though.
Okay, but t tell me what to check out.
I mean, CoStar would be cool, but you have to pay for that.
Just to get login.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh yeah, you were talking to me about CoStar, but like in that case of let's say LoopNet, where like let's say you came to me and said let's do it with LoopNet, and LoopNet, let's say they didn't have a ChatGPT situation, So if I go for sale, 33181, okay, it's changing it, whatever. Let's go to list. And so here's what I would do as an engineer if I wanted to. Is there a way to view list view? I guess this is a list. Okay, if I was an engineer, which I am, and back in the day I wanted to build a scraper that would pull all this information into an Excel sheet, basically. I would do this, which is this card is over here, and embedded in this card are all of the details, right? So here's, you can see on the right over here, you can see the link, you can see the address is over here. You know, it's also interesting. Look at the highlighted area over here. You can actually, if you want to
Oh,
know how
property.
HTML, if you want to know how HTML renders, I literally changed it inside the website. So this is the visual aspect that gets rendered on the by the browser. So
Everyone could see that, or just you?
nah, just me, because the backend isn't changed. So what I would do as an engineer is I'd copy and paste this. I'd tell the code what's the what's the ID for each of these things. And then the code would go ahead and map each of these locations to the table and be able to pull into an Excel sheet, for example, address, location, price, description, whatever, and maybe even do a click and pull the rest of the information on the page. The thing is, LoopNet has their entire business. The entire thing that could keep dear and secret to them is their data set. So they're happy to expose their data to you, but only in chunks of a certain amount. So what that means is that if I wanted to do this at scale for something like LoopNet, like I wanted to build automations with LoopNet data, LoopNet has, and companies like LoopNet, they have these processes to conceal that data the way a bot would perceive it. So some of these things that aren't exposing applications, you're not going to be able to necessarily, you're going to be rate limited. So you're not going to be able to ping the website a million times to find a million properties to be analyzing constantly. Those things, it's a constant workaround, and they're often prohibited. So some companies, they will pay people and pay teams constantly to innovate, to continue uh, avoiding those evasive maneuvers to get around them. But at the same time, companies like LoopNet are constantly investing to avoid the scraping. So this is like a constant effort that people are doing. I'm hoping that for a world that we can live in, that the interface is not some sort of like browser. Sometimes you need visual, but often we have visual just because that's what there is. And like data becomes more shared or more exposed. That's probably where OpenAI and Anthropic are moving to. Eventually, people are concerned that a lot of companies are going to go out of business, but this is all like very philosophical and out there. Um, but so far, this is like a cool information. I hope it could be educational. Okay, what else?
Um, so Yosef, you want to go, or?
No, go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
So so instead of CoStar, we use a software now called Smart Apartments Data. So what that is um, less, meaning CoStar is more like seeing analytics on buildings, like transactional analytics, financials, comps, more from like an investment standpoint.
Hmm.
Versus smart apartments data is more for vendors, or I mean, I'm sure there's other use cases, but it's pretty much just giving you every multifamily management company in the United States. It shows you what properties they oversee, what the addresses are, and live updates on who the on-site property manager, regional, the management company, the ownership that owns it. So that more from like I guess, sales standpoint, like data that's relevant to people who are trying to sell to those companies. So, um, what I have to do now is kind of just play around on that website until I come across a company that, looks interesting. And then I have to check it in Salesforce to make sure some other sales guy in my company isn't going after them already, right? So, it's funny, as we get more software, I get more spoiled about my time. Meaning I used to be perfectly okay searching through smart apartments data because it was so much better than going through apartments.com and manually, just finding companies I didn't recognize. Um, and then searching where else do they have properties within their portfolio. Here I have it all in one place. But the issue is that, not the issue. What I expect Claude or ChatGPT to be able to do is somehow connect to smart apartments data, and I would be able to prompt it and say, hey, I'm having a lot of success in this county in Texas. Give me a list of anyone who has a property over 100 units. Give me a list of the management company associated with it, and then pull the director of operations contact from Zoom Info. Um,
Very cool. Okay.
yeah.
Let's break that down. Like this is we're talking about like a multi-step, pretty advanced process where each step is hidden behind several layers. So good to see Zoom Info is already covered. What I described before, that historically, if I wanted to scrape a website's data, right, like they are preventing me, but historically I would have to map each thing to each thing. So what I could do nowadays, instead of doing like an API request and pulling the HTML and mapping it, you could do another level where you could copy the HTML data and run it through an LLM and say, hey, like you just prompt engineer it. Like, we'll do an example. And by the way, what I'm doing this manually of the copy and pasting is something that you could do programmatically. So create a table of these property listings.
Yeah, but you would have to know to even be able to open HTML on a web page to do this.
Yeah, that's what I'm teaching you, but not necessarily. Here's uploading a file, but I just want this to run in the background. Or another option that you could do, because sometimes the information might be hidden behind a JSON object, is you could just hit like, you would have like the AI do a browser automation and do a copy and paste into here. There's a temporary chat. Let's untemp this. Okay. I'm doing this here. Let's do the same over here. Okay. So that's like one way to scrape-ish information. Another thing, if I go here, if I go to like my cursor, in cursor, for example, you can give cursor browser access.
By the
So
way, who, Mikey,
mhm.
do you know who the first use case of cursor was?
What do you mean? The first use case?
Like the first time something was a cursor. Okay, I'm really
Wait,
like
tell me. Sounds like a cool fun fact.
Bill. Okay, it was a dumb
Donkey.
joke. It was a dumb joke.
Billum cursor? But you gotta explain it. Obviously, it's them because you have to explain it, but you can't not explain
He's a
it.
cursor.
Oh, he makes the curses. Nice. That's a Mikey joke.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was not a good interruption there. Apologize. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut now.
So cursor, Claude, Codex, they all can have browser access. So you can guide it like, you know, browse this website. If you get stuck on login, let me know. And then you could go in and tap it. You could end up into issues here where like your account gets banned. If it's not mission critical, you can always make a new account or use a different tool. I'd say for the sake of experiment, I don't want to recommend anything illegal, but do what you want to do and take whatever risks you want to take. And you probably wouldn't go to jail for it. You could get sued. But like if you're a small operation, you're working within the limits, so it shouldn't stay within the realm of what a human can do. Don't go and try to copy their entire data set. Um, but you could experiment if you wanted to. programmatically with seeing how you can teach an agent to do the things you would normally do. And then like it could get those steps out of the way so you could spend more time on the phone talking to clients. All these things I could like do for you or experiment for you for money, but I think it just makes more sense for everybody to experiment on their own. I had a call with David Koskas yesterday. He told me he was tr having trouble with an MCP that I literally never heard of before called Mac use. Basically, it's a Mac native MCP that's connected to Apple's native web applications like Mail and um, uh, maybe Safari, I don't know, Calendar, Notes, things like that, Keynote. And like we were able to hopefully resolve his issue. But the way that he thinks about using AI is different from the way a sales guy would think about using AI, which is very different from the way a software engineer would think about using it. So the kind of like spiky shape, the spiky way that this is emerging has been really fascinating to see where I'm like, yeah, I would consider a few months ago considering myself an expert in AI. Now I still do, but specifically in my niche. And then somehow that gives me a greater understanding of other people's niches as well. So, like because I know prompt engineering, because I know MCPs, I can say, hang on a second, I don't know about this particular tool, but I can posit a guess that the tool calling isn't explicit enough, and you're giving it complex tasks up front, and it's confused by context drift, which is when there's the memory is incorrect and too long. So it's been interesting and it's exciting that we can constantly have things to learn.
Another question similar to setting up a system. Um, like for example, with me with content creation or let's say the podcast, I try to put out a video every day of shorts I have. So there's a really good software called Opus Clip, which basically you put your full 1 hour podcast, and then it takes that and makes you literally 30, 40 clips like in short form. 1 second, we should go outside for a second.
Yeah, I know Opus Clip. I think you made some for me from our interview.
Mikey, before
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
no, you're
So
back, back.
um so
He's back.
basically it takes that like your full length video and it condenses it on its own, finds like things that would go viral, little topics, gives it a description, a title, and then it has a direct, links. It can link to your Instagram or YouTube and post for you to schedule posts. It's really cool what this AI thing built, and they charge like a $30 membership. And that alone is worth it because I used to pay, have to pay an editor $10 per short. So now it's making me thousands of shorts and I pay 29 bucks a month. So another thing I want to do is taking all these clips, and there's already apps that do it like Buffer and a few others that basically post for you on multiple platforms at once. So instead of going on your LinkedIn, then going on your YouTube, then going on your Instagram, then going on your TikTok or whatever platforms you use and utilize, you put it in once and it schedules your post for the week or for the month for the year.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So I'm curious how I can
that's
build my own. Like that, is that one of them where you'd build or buy? Like what do you think the best thing to do is? Because there's some creators posting 10 times a day. Like Gary Vee is posting a few hundred pieces of content a day. I'm sure he's not physically doing it. He has a team, and also his team's by utilizing AI to schedule
uh
them.
for questions like this, I think I use the Rice formula, which is reach times impact times confidence divided by effort. So for doing this to use Opus Clip 30 a month, seems like you're getting a lot of reach and impact with basically 100% confidence. Maybe it might clip it weird sometimes, but that's okay. And it's like no effort. If you want to build it yourself, the effort's going to shoot up, the confidence is going to shoot down, and the reach and impact come into question. I would recommend that you continue using Opus because $30 a month is already a bargain in what you're doing. If you get to a certain scale where you can make some sort of hypothesis about a predicted impact that could exist from making the change, then I would say make the change, experiment with it, and then measure. Did this have the impact I intended? So learning comes from making predictions and then checking back, was my prediction correct? And there's no ego with these predictions.
Noted. Thanks.
I'm trying to think there was something relevant to that statement before. Like current system versus new system, like switching from ChatGPT to Claude. Did you just do it because more people were? This is a rhetorical question. I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm talking to everybody because I'm switching back and forth. Because you started hearing people speak about Claude more often. Is that why you started to do it? Or did you do it because there was something specific in maybe the philosophy of the design philosophy or in the capability that it was worth having the trade-off, and that trade-off would affect your business outcome by uh whatever reason. Maybe more setup time, but more confidence in perpetual output.
I mean, with
Rhetorical.
ChatGPT, like a lot of people were telling me that like it's nothing compared to Claude. And like it was doing everything I needed it to do more or less for like the tasks I was giving it. But Claude is definitely more impressive when you're doing proposals for invoices, proposals for companies, setting up SOPs, putting your company letterhead, making legitimate documents that look like you would have spent hours, doing. It was a lot more capable than ChatGPT. I still use ChatGPT every day. It depends on what the task is. But something I really want to do is to use Claude Code. But I feel pressure to use Claude Code because everyone's like, you gotta use Claude Code. But I'm like, what am I actually using it for? That's kind of why I want to learn more about how I
So
can,
let me show you a little
because I feel like
about how
I'm not
Claude Code
utilizing it as much. And like, I don't know if Shimmy feels the same
Yeah,
way.
yeah, pretty much. I went to
I feel like
Claude
I'm
because
missing out on something. Shimmy, don't you feel like everyone's using it and you're like, yeah, you're not utilizing
so
it best?
I think there's somewhere in the middle. I think like Mikey said earlier, right? All those people who are saying that they have AI employees, they're exaggerating to some extent. So Mikey probably actually knows what he's saying when he's saying that, but I get a good idea of the fact that every non-expert of AI, it became like the fad to say, hey, if you're using ChatGPT, you're dumb, right? Because every Instagram, every social media guy was talking about it. Is Claude better and superior? Probably. I don't think it's out of thin air, but like for everyday tasks, it might not be that much more. What I do notice is that Claude is a lot more. I don't know if the word is concise, but very short with its responses. Which if sometimes I like that, and sometimes I like more. I'm more vague with what I even want, and I want ChatGPT to kind of like give me the whole menu of directions I could go with a certain thing. So
I mean, but that's also a setting that you can change. So there are a lot of differences, and they go into different categories. And at the end of the day, it's what you feel. And hearing people say that I use this over that is actually usually a pretty good signal about what's going on. Um, and for something like that it's not mission critical to change, so it's not the biggest deal just to experiment with everything and spend an extra 20 bucks a month. It's really not a big deal at all. For bigger transformations, so then you'll want to have this like theory of mine. So we're almost at an hour, so I'll close off the story I told about Marvin Minsky in the beginning. One of his like theories that I wanted to share is called the Society of Mind. So he theorized that he was like a scientist, but also in some ways like theorizing about consciousness and the mind. And he's wondering, an animal is made up of organs, and each organ helps the survival, but the organs don't have a sense of survival. And so he had this theory that the mind is a bunch of tiny processes, and they're distinct and they're happening at the same time. And that's how you're able to have, at one hand, I want to eat, and on the other hand, I'm on a diet and I shouldn't have this snack. So how can you have two conflicting thoughts at the same time? And he said that some people will say that there's like a little man in your brain, the homunculus, that's watching all of these processes and telling it what to do. And he said this is also outside of the scope of his theory. His theory was more like a city or a town, where the collective minds of the individuals in the town are working for, they're all like little ants doing their own thing, but somehow comes together to create a society or a mind that's greater than the piece itself. I think this is like, on one hand, you can think about it so many different levels. Like even a cell has like the mitochondria and all that stuff inside, but an organ has all these cells, and the body has all these organs, and the community, the neighborhood, or the family has all these humans, all these bodies. And so it also has a reflection in technology and AI that you send a prompt and the classic ChatGPT is give you a response. But these more advanced tools, they're kind of doing this. Sometimes they're spawning 3 or 4 or 5 agents. Even the chats are spawning multiple agents at probably and running multiple calls in the background. That's why it says thinking sometimes. It's really just having agents and doing interpretive steps. So yeah, especially as understanding of this grows, understanding of the human mind will grow as well, and the collective knowledge of the GPT will become smarter than any of us individually, and it's nuts. The only thing it's missing is the perceptron, which is the sense of what's going on in the world, which is really what creates intelligence, like
So that that's
being present.
that was my question today. I was listening to an audiobook about Claude and how to use it and how it thinks. And my question was like, and you hear this a lot from AI people, like at the end of the day, it's not a human mind, right? Um, it can't feel emotion. It's basically like a mega Google, right? It's just like taking every possible like thing it could find online, contextualizing it, and you know, I don't know if I'm describing it right, but but regardless, I don't see that as an inferior thing because I'm not the smartest human on the planet. Meaning any information I'm getting from a computer will still be so much better than what I could up with my own mind. So I don't see that as like a like a pagam. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Um,
of course. And I don't think we need to.
right. No, because they always caution like it can make mistakes and all that stuff, and I feel like it's maybe they're just covering their tuchus like for like regulatory reasons, but um yeah, what I wanted to ask also is like I sometimes prompt Claude to think to go into the brain of who I'm pursuing, my prospect, and then
Hmm.
use the most manipulative, industrial psychology tactics to write the perfect email that will force them to respond. And I still don't get responses. So
It's not
why
magic.
it's not magic.
It's not magic. Like if you think in reality, if you're from that perspective of the buyer, there sometimes you're just not interested. Maybe it's your personality that you just don't respond to random emails. You don't even read them. There's just so many different layers. So the thing you described of how do I improve my response rate? Well, using AI versus using templates versus using individual, keep track of those things because something that has a 3% delta, one thing to the next is like that converts. Everybody's looking for that 3%. 3% improvement. Savings accounts are giving, you know, CDs are giving 3%. Bonds are giving 3%. If you could have a 3% improvement on, your salary, hell yeah, do it. But if you're just going by a feeling, and you're not doing any analytics or tracking about it, you're not going to you're
See
not going to
results.
know about it. You're just
Right.
not going to know that 3% is happening. So keep track of those outreaches. Tell ChatGPT to, create a funnel of your outreaches. What are the rates? Show it when you tried something new. Tell it to, give it that date separation of before and after this date and to track.
So it can
What
do
else?
all the A/B testing.
A/B testing, ask it about sample size, get it to be a statistician, a data scientist in your pocket. It's unbelievable what like you could be capable of here.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I think that's relevant to Yosef too. No, I mean, you imagine not having. I mean, obviously, cold calling creates the highest level of trust and um, and like sort of the coercion to for them to respond. Because they're dealing with human. But you imagine being able to like 10 or 100x outreach, and then from that get like 2, 3 responses of companies that are interested in your service. Um,
Okay,
yeah.
so I think with that, let's wrap up. It's been over an hour.
Okay.
Okay, amazing. Amazing. My bad. This next week, I forgot to post on my status and on Instagram for about this class, to advertise it. There's a lot of
Right.
people AI, and it's just been crazy. But I really feel like got real value out of it. I'm gonna try to start implementing these things with Shimmy.